Welcome to the Plant Trainers Podcast, where we're helping people improve their quality of life through nutrition and fitness. And now, your hosts, nutrition and wellness coaches, international speakers, Adam and Shoshana Chaim.
Hey, I'm Adam Chaim.
And I'm Shoshana Chaim, and we are
Propelled by Plants. Today we bring to you episode 237, Strategies for Strengthening Your Family Bond.
In today's episode of the Plant Trainers Podcast, Adam and I share the secrets that helped us strengthen our family bond and a few other techniques that we think are pretty great too. The family time builds confidence, trust, connection, and memories. As primary and high school teachers, we have a deep understanding of children, their personalities, their relationships with the family as well. Put that experience together with our studies and research and being parents ourselves, and we see trends that help keep family ties very strong.
Often we see the responsible adults and leaders that develop from many of the holistic practices we're going to talk to you today about. Take time right now to give yourself a rating to see how you feel your family is doing as a team, and then think about what you want that number to be. We hope some of the ideas we talk about today will help you get to really where you want to be.
How to get your kids wanting to try new foods while learning in the process without hours of pointless screen time. If you're an aunt, uncle, parent, teacher, or have kids at all in your life, you've got to listen up. We're so proud. We're officially announcing that our Yummy Foods activity book for kids is available on Amazon. Kids need to know more about the foods they eat. They need to be motivated and educated so that they can make better food decisions and build their culinary skills that will grow with them into the future. The reviews that have been coming in say things like,
"The book is interesting, fun, informative, and I feel good about the fact that my kids not only want to play in it, but they're learning at the same time. It's a win-win."
And
"I recommend it for homeschooling, church-based programs, and presentations to elementary-age kids. The worksheets can also be used as a fun activity to test basic food literacy knowledge in adult-based presentations."
This is a great way to get kids off their electronics and learning about where their food comes from, how it supports their body, and other drills and skills for the kitchen. So stock up for Valentine's Day, birthdays, and I love you presents right now. You could find it by searching on Amazon or going to planttrainers.com/yummyfoods.
That's planttrainers.com/yummyfoods. And now for a moment of gratitude.
This week I had a meeting with a doctor who was consulting with me on how to bring more plant-based education to his patients' lives, to their learning experience, so that they can then take it and run with it within their own lives. And I'm just so grateful to be able to help him with that and reach so many other people with that as well.
Last night, as a family, we went out to a movie. We hung out together, the four of us. It was a great time, and I'm just grateful for that opportunity.
Welcome, everybody, to the Plant
back.
Trainers Podcast. We're back. It's just the two of us today. We used to do these a lot in the first 100 episodes. We used to do this a lot. But now we have so many great guests on, and we're so excited to share all of them with you. But there's a lot of things that we want to talk about and make sure that you understand, and things that you ask us about that we do in our own families and we do in our own athletics, we do with our own diets, and we want to start to spread this message to all of you as well. So today we're talking about the benefits of family bonding and how to create a stronger bond within your family and just rock it. Be awesome.
Rock it. Yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated, but a lot of families have difficulties really bringing themselves together and finding ways and opportunities to do that. So we thought we'd share some of those things with you, and there's a lot of benefits to actually bringing your family together, and it all starts with you. So you got to figure out how to do it, and we're going to share with you today some ways that you can make it happen.
So I think having an understanding of what some of those positive outcomes can be really gets people motivated, but not just motivated, ready to make real transformation. According to South University and a lot of the university research out there, creating a stronger bond within the family creates more of an emotional bond between the parents and the children, which means that you're stronger for each other as you go through life events or things come up, or you're able to talk to your children better, or children are able to talk to you about some topics that might seem a little bit uncomfortable or hard for them to do. But when you have that strong bond and you've done a lot of work in the forefront, then they're able and more comfortable to talk to you about that.
I mean, the truth is that you're looking to build stronger connection between your family members. And it's funny that we have to go to research papers and that universities are doing these research studies to actually show people the importance of this. But some of the findings, even, I mean, they're obvious. I mean, they seem obvious, but people don't necessarily see it. But increasing communication between family members obviously will improve the more you hang out together.
Yes, and it also depends on your personalities too, right? Some people just have the personality. Some children or parents or the whole family will have the personality to talk to each other more or hang out more. But by making that effort and making sure that you're doing it, or if it's not in your personality, making sure that you're doing it, can have great outcomes, like kids can perform better in school, or they could get better grades, or they can have better friends around them or trust their friends more. So it really is worth making that extra effort. And of course, you're going to get students who are going to do amazing in school and they might have a really broken home. But if you want to increase your chances, like anything else, just like we talk about plant-based diet, it's not all the answers to every single disease, to every single problem, but you're really setting yourself up for the best situation possible. And the same goes for quality of life for your children and for yourself now and in the future. When you create this good family bond, whether it's been hard in the past or easy in the past, making that effort can only set yourself up for the best situation possible within your own lives.
And the studies have also shown that kids who have stronger communication, stronger bonds with their parents have less behavioral issues, have less behavioral problems at school, or they grow up with less issues in general. And so that's just another really important reason for us to build a connection with our kids and make that bond really nice and strong.
Not only that, I'm just thinking now, what we're doing is we're setting an example and we're teaching our children what a family should be like to some degree. And we're setting them up to be better parents in the future. And hopefully, when we do make these efforts to create fun times, strong bonds, good communication, hopefully what we're doing is teaching our children to do the same when they become parents or adults and have relationships with children as well, and just pass it on, because we know parenthood is so incredibly difficult.
Hard,
and we want our children to be successful at that as well, not just successful in their careers.
And all parents strive to do the best they can as a mom, as a dad, and obviously want their kids to succeed and be the best people that they could be. And we as parents want to be a good role model for them. And it's a tough job. It's not easy. And there's so many different ways of doing things and everybody has their way. But it all comes back to really building a connection and a bond between each family member that, I mean, I think is really going to make a big difference. And being that positive role model as much as possible really will lend itself to a positive child raising up as they get older.
I also think that sometimes it's easier to connect with your child than it is to get your children to connect with each other. Depending on your children's personalities, their age difference, their gender, all different kinds of things, sometimes it's really hard to get your children to have that strong bond, or at least show that they have that strong bond. Sometimes they're just too cool for school and they don't actually show each other how much they love each other. Let's not fluff around. Let's get right into some of the practical ideas that you can start using at home. You can write all of these down, talk to your family. We'll talk about family meetings after, but talk about some of these ideas in a family meeting. Decide which ones you want to start working on right away, because we're going to go through a lot of information today. And like any episode of the Plant Trainers podcast, you get tons of information. You're not going to go home and apply everything on day one or even everything ever. So take what works for you, and hopefully this will spark some other great ideas for you as well.
Are we going in any order specific or just go one by one down the list? Or
Well, I did take notes, so let's go down the list.
Okay.
Let's start with the cheesiest one of all.
The cheesiest one. So families who play together stay together. So let's create this. You wanted cheesy. That's cheesy, right? So let's create this family game night.
Yeah, so family game night doesn't have to look like sitting down and playing a board game, although I highly recommend that because it is a lot of fun. But, you could play cards, you could play board games, but you can really use your imagination and you could start to build forts or make some kind of American Ninja Warrior
Obstacle course?
Yeah, obstacle courses in the house. Whatever is age appropriate for your kids, you can paint together. You can do family paint night. You could do family pottery night. You can go paint pottery at a place. It doesn't necessarily have to be a game per se, but something that allows you to have fun, something that offers the attention so that you don't have to work on creating the environment. The environment's kind of built by whatever it is that you're doing, and you guys just bring the fun to it.
I think it's important that this is something that you schedule weekly. So let's say every Wednesday night is family game night. So every Wednesday night, you are going to do something, whether it's a card game, a board game, a fort, or whatever it is. But I think it's very valuable to have it coming from the child. So have your kids suggest what they want to play. And if they don't have any ideas, obviously give them suggestions, recommendations, or options, but let them feel like it's coming from them, because if they do that, they're going to be more likely to want to buy into it.
And they feel empowered, and they feel like they're making a choice for their family. And what I talk about a lot with my clients in terms of their children being picky eaters, what they're actually being is controlling eaters, because kids feel like they don't have a lot of control throughout the day. They're told when to brush their teeth, when to get ready for school, when they have French, when they have gym, when they have Spanish, when they have English. And they're told when to go home and when to get on the bus and when to eat dinner. They want to have some control in their lives. So giving them control of family game night within limits is definitely a great way to empower them. And although I do recommend that you take part in activities where you're actually interacting with each other, so you're sitting around and painting pottery together and looking and talking to each other, or playing cards together, or playing Scrabble together, what have you, you can also incorporate watching games together. So if you're a sporty type family, make some kind of tradition around watching sports, and maybe you make your own homemade pizzas and sit on the carpet with a tablecloth under you and sit on the living room floor and watch the TV and watch the game together. And that's what you do throughout your football season or your hockey season or what have you. So you can use that as a way to bond together as well, but there's not as much interaction. So I suggest using that on top of the other games. Another thing that you can do that's not really family game night, but it's more of a tradition, is that you could start to volunteer together. So find some kind of soup kitchen, or packing boxes where they send food off to people, or find something that you're able to do together and volunteer a couple of times a year as well. And, we're all kind of pressed for time. And if you're doing that, 4 times a year, then maybe you don't have your family game night for those weeks of the 4 times a year. Or maybe you don't do your family game night every week. Maybe you do it every second week, because I know you're probably thinking, oh, when do I have time to do all this? Figure out what really works for you and your family and your schedule.
Yeah, I wouldn't have put that into this category, because that's an experience that you're offering your family that's going to benefit not just you as a family and create that stronger bond because you had this experience together, but now you're reaching out into the community and really making a difference outside of your family. So that's a whole other category to me.
So let's all rewind mentally, and maybe we should, instead of calling this family game night, we should call it family experience.
Yeah,
right.
Experience
Just have
is great.
A family experience.
Yeah, because that's what life's all about: having different adventures, having different experiences, learning from them, failing at them, moving on, winning, succeeding, and just growing with them. Let's move on to our next section.
So our next section is meditation, which might be a whole new experience for you. It's something that we've done with our family in various ways, but group meditation or family meditation is a really great way to strengthen the bond. But I want you to keep in mind that it's not necessarily going to be the best experience on the first try. Depending on your kid's age, you might have grumpy kids, or kids who laugh, or kids who run around and scream. It takes a little bit of practice to get there. And we'll talk about it a little bit now, but we do have more information about it on our Plant Trainers podcast number 34, Meditation for Families, and some other blogs that we will link to in the show notes as well.
Yeah, this is something that really takes practice, and like most things, it's about progression and not expecting perfection. And especially when you do different types of meditation with younger people, their attention span's very low. They can't stay focused for very long, and if you're the type of person who expects meditation to be sitting there quietly and not moving, when you try that with your family, with kids, it's going to be a totally different experience.
So you can definitely use something like Headspace or Calm, and you can use an app where you can all sit and put that on and meditate together. So that's something that you can do. Think about if you have a 4-year-old that you do it for 4 minutes, but start at 1 minute and work your way up to 4 minutes. If you have a 7-year-old, you could work your way up to 7 minutes. That's kind of the attention span of young kids. It's more or less the amount of minutes per year. But also the other thing is that you can definitely give them little things to hold. Yeah, little props. So either like little squishy balls or a hacky sack, something to keep their hands busy so that their mind can be calmer too. So like Adam said, it doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't have to look like a bunch of monks meditating for hours on end without any movement, sound, or anything like that. It can look like what it needs to look like for your family.
See, what I like about it is that you sit together as a family and you're together, right? No matter what you're doing, no matter what you're saying, if you're sitting cross-legged, holding each other's hands, and you have a gong like we talk about in our blog or meditation for families, podcast 34. There's different ways and techniques to do it, but the best part of it is that you're experiencing it together, and whether your kids are laughing or you're laughing or you're trying to keep them quiet or whatever it is, it's that experience that you're sharing together as a family.
I want you to keep in mind that you could use guided meditation as well. So meditation doesn't have to be silent. You can either play guided meditations from YouTube, or you could print them up and or just have them on your tablet in front of you, and you could read them as you go. And each person can take a turn reading each week or each day that you do the guided meditation. So they could look like taking walks through the mountains, or being down at the beach, or listening to the animals make sounds. And then once you've had some experience with that, depending on your age range of your kids, they can maybe even write their own guided meditations and read them to the family and feel really awesome about that. One thing that we do is Adam was in Ecuador and he brought back some chocolate from Ecuador, and I had the children smell the chocolate and we licked the chocolate and we tasted the chocolate. And that's a form of meditation too. What we're doing there is we're being mindful. So next time you have popcorn, or next time you have chocolate as a family or a cupcake as a family, take your time, and before everybody kind of digs into it, take your time to smell it, to taste it, to hold it in your mouth, to talk about the textures that you feel. Although that's not meditation per se, it's being mindful about the foods that you're eating. And we're going to talk more about mindfulness in a couple of weeks on another podcast as well with yogi triathletes.
So the other thing that we like to do is have family meetings, and we've talked about this before. And we tend to actually have dinner together every night, which is something that a lot of families don't have the luxury of doing, but we make it a point of making that happen because it's very important to us to be able to sit down with our whole family every night for dinner and try to have conversations. And one of the things that we like to do is talk about our successes for the day, and it just gets us talking and sharing all of the experiences and adventures that we had during that day.
It also gives us an opportunity to revisit our family values. So if Adam and I have noticed that the family's kind of been off because of certain behaviors, then it allows us the opportunity to bring that up, to see, how is that affecting the whole family? What small changes can everybody in the family be responsible for to be able to create a better environment within the family? And so while we're sitting at dinner, it also allows the opportunity for us to think about what family projects do we want to make? What kind of travels do we want to take down the road? We can meal plan together, talk about the kind of foods that we want to eat the next week. We could revisit the chores that the kids are responsible for. There's so many different opportunities for us to talk about expectations or dreams that we have as a family. And because we sit down for dinner almost every night, we're able to do that. If we weren't able to, we would make a structured family meeting time. And some people would recommend that as well, but it's not what we do because we do sit down so often. But you can make a structured family meeting time. So whether that is, Sunday morning or Monday afternoons, or just finding a different time each week but making sure that you sit down to do it and really talk about the things that are important to the family and that are going to help you guys be that unit that you want to be.
Yeah, if you're not able to do it daily, it's definitely a great idea to do it at the beginning of the week, like you said, a Sunday maybe, and set your intentions for the week. What do you want to accomplish as a family? The expectations that you have for the week, the goals that you might have for the week for each individual, and just having that opportunity to speak and share and connect with each other really will make a big difference in your week.
We're taking a pause to let you know that this episode of the Plant Trainers podcast is sponsored by Health IQ. Health IQ uses science and data to secure low rates on life insurance for health-conscious people like runners, cyclists, triathletes, strength trainers, vegans, and more. We think Health IQ is crazy impressive and so innovative. We only tell you about products or services that fit into our values and that we could or would or do use ourselves. Despite the fact that we happen to be Canadian, we wanted to get the Health IQ experience so we could tell you more about it. Well, needless to say, we spent a Friday night taking their quizzes, and we recommend you do it too. Not only will you be able to save up to 33% on your life insurance by being fit, active, or being a compassionate eater, but you'll have a blast trying to beat the clock answering their skill testing questions. And the prize is peace of mind for you and your family and extra cash in your pocket because they offer exclusive rates, but you have to qualify through one of their Health IQ quizzes. So put it on your calendar now and head to healthiq.com/planttrainers and take their quiz to see if you qualify and get your free quote today. If you call them, mention the promo code PLANTTRAINERS when you talk to the Health IQ agent. And now back to the show. So for us, that always takes part in the kitchen. And there's lots of other ways that the kitchen can help you guys become a strong unit, create that good family bond, and hopefully have all of those amazing outcomes like we were talking about at the beginning. And one of the things that I like to do together with the kids is look through recipe books. You could use Pinterest, you can use any other kind of recipe app that you have, but allowing the family to explore new recipes, choose new recipes, say, hey, I like the way this looks, I want to make it. Of course, it's always the dessert part and never the main courses. Well, not never, but it's usually the dessert part. But it really gets you guys talking about food. It allows that bonding experience to happen. And it also gives your children an opportunity to, again, be empowered. Say, I want to take charge of this. I want to choose this, or I want to help make this. And hopefully it'll get them to expand their palates and try new foods.
I love at the beginning of the week that we sit down and we say, okay, this is what's for dinner all week. And we put together our dinner meal plan, and then we need to do the shopping for it. And it's always fun when the kids do the grocery shopping with us. And it doesn't happen all the time. It happens once in a while. But having them come with us, be a part of it, and even have them choose some foods that we don't normally bring home really allows them to bring out their creativity, feel a part of the family, and they have the opportunity to contribute to the food that we're putting into our body and eating every day.
So once you've done that grocery shopping and the food is back home, recruit your children to wash the fruit or vegetables, peel, chop, cook. Last night I taught my son how to make quinoa. So Russell was learning how to make quinoa. And it was really funny because I said to him, you know what, Russ? Making dinner is so much more fun when you help. And his response was, I disagree. Because he could have been playing computer, he could have been playing PlayStation. So not to say that he wasn't having fun doing it with me, but he knew that he could have more fun somewhere else. But it was important for me to have that bonding time with him. It was important for him to learn how to make grains, that grains just aren't a food that is edible right when it's put on the table, that it needs to go through a process. So that was a bonding experience for both of us, and hopefully my future daughter-in-law will be happy with that.
So here's the thing with that. The skills that he's learning at this age, he's only 9, are incredible. And when I see my high school students go off to university, a lot of them don't know what they're doing, and they're now responsible for making their own food. And the only thing they know how to do is go to fast food restaurants or pick up from a restaurant. And they don't know how to actually wash, peel, chop, prepare a meal. And I get emails from them all the time asking for advice or help or how to do. So if you're able to get your kids involved in the process at a young age and teach them these skills, that's lifelong skills that you're teaching them. And at the same time, you're creating that bond with your family. So that's a huge thing.
And one of the ways to get your kids interested in that at a later age is to start at a younger age and invest in games or books or videos or our Yummy Foods activity book and introduce kids to these kinds of techniques, these kinds of foods, make it front of mind. So when you're investing in these games and books, then make sure that there's some kind of food component to it. So if you're buying a memory game and you could choose between Shrek memory and fruit and vegetable memory, choose the fruit and vegetable memory, right? Our Yummy Foods activity book is something that you could bring with to restaurants that kids can then color and play and fill in the blanks and do word searches and all of these other things. But at the same time, it's all about food. So you could very easily go to Dollar Tree and pick up an Avengers book, but they get Avengers all the time and they get cartoons all the time. Try to choose something that's a little bit more food focused maybe, because we really do bond over food. And as you color with them, as you talk to them about it, as they show it to you, it really does help improve their skills for now and for the future. So what you can do right now is think about how many times you get to sit together as a family and eat a meal together. So if you're sitting together every single night for dinner like we are, that's amazing, that's great. But let's say you're only doing it once or twice a week. Try to figure out a way to extend that to 3 times a week. Or if you're doing it 5 times a week, how do you extend it to 6 times a week? And keep in mind that you don't necessarily have to sit down only for dinners. We sit down usually on Saturdays. We'll sit down as a family and we'll have pancakes and waffles for lunch as well. So try to fit in some breakfasts, some lunches, or some dinners to allow you to have that family bonding time and really move on with your strengthening skills within the family.
And if you can't get everybody down at the same time, it could be a mommy-daughter meal. It could be a daddy-son meal. It could be a daddy-daughter, mother-son. Any time that you have that you could get some of you guys together will really make a difference in the long run.
So let's talk about exercise. Exercise is a great way to bond together as a family, especially if you're an athletic family. If you're one of those families who are like, we really don't exercise, or, sports is not our thing. We can't really catch a ball as parents. We don't expect our kids to. There's really something for everybody. So when I talk about exercise, I really mean movement. I mean getting out. I mean not sitting on your derriere all day. Let's try to find ways to move around with our kids.
So our kids go to a gymnastics class every week, and that morning I was going out for a 30K run, and I said to Russ, "Hey Russ, you want to come with me on my 30K run?" And he says to me, I don't think I could because then I'll be too tired for my gymnastics class. I thought that was funny. But the point is that he knows that I'm going out for that run, and they see me getting up early and they see you getting up early to do our exercise. And what we're doing is being role models for them and showing them the importance of exercise. And there are times where they join us for those sessions, the run, the walk, the yoga, the hike, and it just puts them into a great mindset when it comes to taking care of their body and moving.
Yeah, so we tend to do it a lot while we're on vacation. We tend to get out as a family unit a lot and take advantage of that. So you might not have hikes near where you live, but you might have them on vacation.
It's also a little harder right now because it's freezing cold outside. There's lots of snow. Nobody wants to go for a hike.
Winter here in Canada. It's winter here in Canada. I mean, it's doable. It's possible, but it's not fun for us. It's not pleasant. So so some of the outdoor activities that you could do is hikes and walks and runs and bike rides, or find yoga in the park. There's lots of different things that you can do outside. Some people are into sailing or skiing or kayaking or canoeing. Sports doesn't necessarily have to be running around with a ball and trying to get it inside some kind of meshing. Sports can be anything, or exercise or movement can be anything. And then if we're talking about more indoor things, you can put on an exercise video and do it as a family. You could have a dance party. You can do yoga. You can do a yoga video. There's so many different things that you could do indoors as well. We bought our children for the holidays an indoor trampoline.
A mini tramp.
A mini tramp for indoors. So between the indoor tramp and the Bosu ball and the treadmill and our stationary bikes, we could very easily all be downstairs, exercising and playing and having fun together.
We actually take the mini trampoline upstairs to the family room sometimes, and while they're watching, if we're watching a hockey game or a football game, I'd say, "Russ, let's jump." And we take turns jumping on the trampoline just to get some movement in for the day.
You could just walk to the corner to pick up the mail, right? Like finish cleaning up from dinner or clean up half of dinner, go walk to the mailbox, pick up the mail or walk around the corner, and then come home and finish cleaning up. So those are also some ways to move around and be together without actually like being hardcore into the exercise part. Maybe there's a swing set in your backyard. Maybe you could walk together to the park. It doesn't have to be sporty. Just make an effort to do it together as a family.
If you live somewhere where it's cold, you want to take a dangerous activity, you can go over to the mall and just walk the mall with your family with the intention of not going to stores, not buying things, but actually going for a walk. Sometimes that's a great indoor way to get a walk in.
It's dangerous. You should bring your first aid kit.
Yes.
And, like Adam started this section with, set an example, right? Set an example. So if you work out or if you move around, let your kids know that you're doing it, so that you're setting an example, so that when you do say, hey, let's go for a walk together, they're like, hey, mom walks all the time. Yeah, I want to do that too. And they're more likely to buy into it as well. Just make sure that you're investing in yourself, right? Eat well, make sure that you're taking care of yourself, whether it's self-care in terms of bath time or meditation time or downtime or TV time. If you're into it, exercise, meditate, treat people nicely. Setting this example for your kids is going to have them have something to live up to. It's going to inspire them to be the best that they can be. And when you're interacting as a family, they're going to step up and they're really going to be the best that they can be as well. The other way that you could really set an example is by teaching them self-help skills, right? So we learn all of these things that I talked about when we're in trouble and we're like, I have to take a course on meditation because I'm stressed out of my mind. They really think about teaching your kids these skills now as a young age, so that they're exposed to it, so that they have it, because as we know, young kids grow into teenagers and teenagers are a little bit moody. We want to try to just get our children to be the best that they could be throughout their whole lives, so that when we are interacting all together, it's not a bunch of teenagers with their hands crossed and sitting back and slouching back and being like, I'm not playing this stupid game. Try to make it fun and make sure that it's age appropriate so that it will stick.
The thing you need to remember is that kids pick up on everything we as parents do. Whether it's positive or negative, they see it. And the more positive we could be, the more of a role model we could be, the more they'll learn from that and want to be just like you. And that's usually a good thing.
Usually a good thing. So as we talk about the family bond and being together, we kind of mentioned this before, but it's really important to have one-on-one time as well. As a teacher, it was really important for me to make sure that the parents of my students understood that they needed time with that one individual child. They would come to me and they would say things like, Shoshana, tell me your secrets. I don't understand. You tell me my child's acting like this beautiful princess or prince or what have you at school, and they come home and they're monsters. And how do I get them to not be monsters? So there's a few things to say there. At school, there's consistency, there's conformity. They're holding it together for me. They're more comfortable at home, and boom, they go home, they fall apart.
They're more comfortable at school.
No, they're more comfortable at home with their parents, right? So like that's the place where you're safe to be exactly what you need to be in that time. If the teacher is giving them that opportunity at school too, then that's great too. But because of all the peer pressure and their friends, they tend to hold it together at school better. And then they come home and they kind of let it all out. The other thing is that as parents, we're not as consistent. So I can get a room of 300 students for a full day to listen to everything I say and follow all the directions with no problems. And then I'll come home to 2 little kids and I'll be like, I won't my own kids listen today. It's because I'm not always as consistent at home as I am with children at school. But having that one-on-one time with the kids really helps build their confidence, makes them feel special, and helps strengthen that full family bond, especially when new babies are born in the family. The kids need to know that the parents still love them. If a child in the family has behavioral issues, they're going to be getting a lot more attention. We need to make sure that the other children in the family understand that they're loved too, that they want to be spent time with as well. So spending time with kids one-on-one is a really great way to build that relationship so that you can bring that into the family too. Or it could be both parents with one child, or it could be, I'm with child X this weekend, you're with child X that weekend for an hour, and then next weekend we switch. Or you rotate through if you have more than 2 children. So there's lots of different ways to do that.
And I love the one-on-one time that we get with our kids at night. And I highly recommend that if you have the opportunity to put your kids to bed, that you spend a bit of time in their room with them, lying down in bed, having a little conversation, talk about the day, or don't, or just hang out, just be together. And I think that really makes a big difference for your relationship.
And you could plan your one-on-one time for next time, right? So if you're having that one-on-one time at night, like what's the big event that you're doing with mommy or daddy or auntie or grandma or something that week? And it doesn't always have to cost money either. Like, yes, it's great to go get your nails done or go get a cupcake or go to the trampoline place, but you can totally just go to the park, go for a bike ride. Yesterday, Jordan and I painted each other's nails. As long as it's not normal chores, you don't want it to just be going to the grocery store. You want to do something special, like you're taking time out of your day to do something with your child to light up their eyes.
So we talked about a lot of things today, a lot of tips. We kind of did it really quickly. And we're going to put a lot of links in our show notes to some of the things we talked about, our Plant Trainers Podcast 34, Meditation for Families, the blog for meditation with kids. We also had a podcast on our family values. I think it was episode 14. There's just a bunch of different things. We had a podcast with John Gordon about the power of positive parenting. We'll put all the links in the show notes. There's a lot to check out there at planttrainers.com/237, and you can check that out. And what I want to leave you with is this. I want you to think about something you heard today in this episode and let us know what was really helpful for you and which piece you could apply in your own family's life. And if you could send that to info@planttrainers.com, that would be great. Or you could hit us up on any of our social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You take your choice and go for it. And let us know what's working for you, what's not working for you, and what you heard here today that you want to incorporate into your family's life.
And if you do put it on social media, why don't you hashtag us, Plant Trainers, and that way we'll see it, we'll like it, and other people will see it too.
So again, hopefully this was helpful for you, and we look forward to hearing about all your family's future successes.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Plant Trainers Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast listening platforms. We appreciate the feedback we receive from you. Every time we get a 5-star rating or review on iTunes from one of our fans, it ensures other people will find us too. Thanks to our patrons. To become a patron, visit www.patreon.com/planttrainers. Even supporting us with $1 really makes a difference. Connect and follow us on Instagram and Twitter @PlantTrainers. Like Plant Trainers on Facebook, join our newsletter, and check out our website at www.planttrainers.com for awesome plant-based recipes and a list of our services. Email your questions to info@planttrainers.com so we can answer them on our upcoming Facebook Lives. We hope we've inspired you today. Join us again next time, and have a healthy day.